and I forget to see it.
Hey there, gang. Welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and joining me today is a man who was born with yellow eyes. I swear to God, he had yellow eyes. His name is Mike Roth.
I used to beat up a lot of kids in the 50s.
Yeah?
It's
You have a
weird.
coonskin hat?
Yeah, and then I stopped doing it for a while, waited until I got born, and then, yeah.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Well done.
Was that in the 50s or 40s?
Oh, no, I think it was the 60s, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. If you know what we're talking about, right into the show.
Yes. You will win something. Maybe
Right.
smiles or something.
That's gut farkus.
I'll send you an emoji.
So here we are, Mike. It's good to be back in the show.
And we missed you. This
Oh,
was
boy.
Last week was your first show you've ever missed out of
111 straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're still at 111.
You guys...
Guess what?
What's that?
I'm at the same amount as you.
I don't like that. We'll talk about that at the end. But, it's good to be back, and we have a few movies to talk about on the marquee, and I'm excited to get into it. So, the first movie that we're going to talk about is a sequel of a recent horror franchise that has been doing big business. I'm talking about The Conjuring 2 from director James Wan.
Yes, great director.
Right, and we bring back the stars of this franchise, Vera Farmiga as Lorraine Warren and Patrick Wilson as her husband, Ed Warren. And we are basically, there's spirits, demonic spirits, haunting a home in England. You could almost call it England's Amityville.
Ah, you could. They did.
They did. And a young girl named Janet, played by Madison Wolfe, has been possessed by this spirit. And the Warrens are called in to investigate, because that's what they do. The church calls them in to investigate to see if there's anything to it. Should we be worried about this possession? And the girl, of course, her and her sister were playing around with a Ouija board, and we've learned in the past what happens when you play around with even a homemade Ouija board.
Yeah.
That'll get you in trouble.
Yeah, it just
Not
tape
Parker
and-
Brothers.
They couldn't even write on, for some reason, they couldn't write on the letters. They had to cut and paste from a magazine, which made it extra creepy.
Right. It looked like a ransom letter.
Yes, it did.
Turned into a Ouija board. And the Warrens are faced with this demonic spirit, a demonic nun,
Yeah.
which you see briefly in the trailers here, and a whole lot of crazy possession going on. Poor Janet. She's full on Zool. There is
Yeah.
no Janet, there's only Zool. and it's basically the Warrens doing what they do and trying to fight back against this spirit.
I love when they start most of these horror movies, actually a lot of times when they say this is based on true life events, you really have to take it with a grain of salt.
Right. The Warrens
me a
were real
giggle.
people. That's where it ends.
Pretty much. And there was a house that people claimed was haunted. All this stuff really doesn't, there wasn't a blasphemous demon and stuff like that. They might have mentioned it could have been, but I highly doubt it dressed like a nun running around.
That nun was a little creepy.
It was super creepy. Tell you what, right off the bat, I did enjoy this movie more than the last one. I think they did a really good job at making it seem like there's two movies for a long time, and then they merged together with a really pretty good, cohesive ending.
Yeah.
Seeing Vera still kind of freaks me out a little bit. I watch Bates Motel, and every time I see her, I think that crazy, creepy lady. In this case, she doesn't want to be creepy. She is the helper, but every time I see
she
her,
acted before Bates Motel, though.
yeah, but I can't
So
picture
I've
her
seen
doing
her
anything
movies since
else.
the early 90s.
It's like Will Wheaton's Curse. You can't see Wesley Crusher. You just see him.
I didn't watch TNG. Not a fan.
Whoa.
Not a fan. No, thank you.
Whoa! You lost your nerd card.
Star Trek is... talking about The Conjuring 2, though, the thing that is the strength of these films with Conjuring and Annabelle and such is, the strength of it is the Warrens and their relationship to me. I love watching Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga on screen together, and I think that their bond and their always having each other's back and never doubting the other person is the strength. So in this movie, they went away from that pretty heavily. First off, like you said, they split. They weren't even really a part of the first chunk of this movie. The Warrens were barely in the first part of this movie, and then their relationship changed in the second half of the movie, and they went away from things that they wouldn't have done in the past. Ed did things that he normally wouldn't have done. He separated himself from her in different moments and kind of didn't listen to her. Where in the past, if it was an understood bond, if I say no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
This movie, if I say no, I'm still going to do it. That felt a little weird to me, that they went away from that relationship.
I kind of felt like it progressed to this point because of what happened in Annabelle and what happened in The Conjuring. At the beginning of the first movie, they were actually calling it quits. They didn't do this pretty much anymore, and then they got brought
And it was the same with this
in.
movie. They'd quit again.
Yeah.
Every time they think they're out, they bring them back. But it just felt to me like they're like the bond between them is that, you know, together we're stronger, and separate. If we let these things separate us, we're in trouble. And they did let things separate them. In this movie, I thought
got in trouble.
they did get in trouble. I like this. I think that this franchise is probably the strongest horror franchise in recent years.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a lot of really bad horror franchises out there, even connected to this. You know, like your Insidious, that ups and downs, good and bad. And I think this is the most level, consistent franchise we've had in quite a while.
This would be the third film, and they're thinking about doing a fourth one based on that blasphemous demon.
Right.
And they are constantly solid. You don't usually get that from a horror movie. By the time you get to the third of any horror franchise, it is falling deep. I still do like Insidious a lot. I think it's great, but it's mostly sound scares and
that second
like
one was
that.
not great. I was not a huge fan, but this one, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Some of the scares in this one felt a little tame. Nothing really new. There were a lot of recycled. I mean, it felt a bit like Evil Dead mixed with
now you're
Exorcist.
comparing another great movie to it.
Right, but I've already seen an Evil Dead remake in the last 3 years, and this felt very much like, especially the second half, felt like an Evil Dead remake to me more than anything. Got a little slapsticky in parts for no reason. Suddenly we're singing Elvis.
The one thing that I did not care for, it was okay. I just didn't think it added on. Was they added a third horror thing, the Crooked Man.
Yes.
That
felt like it should have been its own story.
It shouldn't have been. I think they saw that as, visually this could be cool, mentally it could be creepy, but it felt like a thrown-in extra monster that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I agree. It felt like, well, let's dig into this guy then.
Yeah.
But we've got enough other bad guys in here to mess around with.
And what they had in the beginning was perfect. It, like I said in the beginning, it felt like you had two different stories, ghost stories, that merged together, and I felt like it merged better than what the Annabelle story did when in the first movie, where it was like the demonic doll, and you also had the witch story, which they never really kind of mixed together very well. It was just a setup for the Annabelle movie.
These movies do love hanging out in basements, I'll say that. A lot of basement time.
Tell you what, the creepiest room in my house definitely isn't the bedroom.
Well, just like Kevin going down to the basement and seeing the furnace, you get scared down there.
Oh yeah, you get really scared.
I'm with you. So, what did you ultimately give The Conjuring 2?
I love this movie. I did have some kids behind me that was kind of ruining the movie.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes, that was not a good time.
But from what I saw of it, and I tried to remove the distractions that were behind me.
Literally remove those distractions.
I really wish I did. But I gave it a 4.5. Wow. This was a really solid horror movie. I really liked it. It makes me excited to see the next installment, which will be the fourth. And I'm never excited for the fourth installment of something.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on
Unless
that.
it's Star Wars. And then I was wrong that time.
Who knew? I gave The Conjuring 2 3 stars. I thought it was good. I thought it was above average. But I thought that some of the scares were kind of tame. And I thought that there was some recycled material in the second act. And I wanted more of the Warrens, and I wanted a progression. And I thought that it was just kind of, it spun its wheels a little bit in the middle. But still enjoy it and would still look forward to another one because, like I say, it's consistently good. So
awesome.
What do you have for us on the marquee, sir?
Well, I got a sequel that no one really kind of expected.
Right.
Now You See Me Too. If you haven't seen the first one dealt with bringing these magicians all together. Each one's have different skills. One is illusionist, one is a hypnotist, one is street magic, one was just what?
Yep,
something.
I don't remember.
Something else. So we built the Four Horsemen, and we bring them back, kind of. In the sequel, they kind of want to say the Four Horsemen never happened. It was a horseman, and there's 3, and now we're adding a new person to the female to the crowd, which they never did before.
Well, she just replaced Isla Fisher, basically.
They pretended that she never existed.
Right. Yeah.
And that this was a new character and a much-needed female role.
Who's just taking on pretty much the same spot.
Which I couldn't figure out why they just didn't say, hey, she couldn't make it, she died, or she's asleep, she's busy, she's got a job. But instead they wanted to pretend that certain parts of the first movie never happened, and now we could progress with Lizzie Kaplan as Lulu. And she was actually a great ad. But it was very jarring to have them constantly tell you certain things didn't happen in the first one when you've seen the first one. Well, anyhow, it's been a year later since these Robin Hood heist magicians have done their job. They put another magician debunker in jail.
Thaddeus.
They're having a lot of good... yeah, Thaddeus.
What a name.
Played by Morgan Freeman, which is a great name. It's been a year later, and now they have to do a heist for a computer whiz kid who kind of liked magic, but he loves science even more. And that's played by Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter
who
himself.
You would think would be the big magician, but he's a science guy.
Right.
So they're pulling off a heist for him, and all sorts of magic wackiness it goes on. There is a lot of things. I'm just going to tell you what I love about the movie first, because that is going to be the shortest part. What I love about this is I really do like the characters in here. Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco. I think they're all great characters. They have a lot of personality. They bring a lot of confidence into this movie, and I like the chemistry that they all have. This movie, though, is total crud, and if it wasn't for their personality and acting skill and charisma, this whole thing would be a complete pile of rubbish. Everything in here is very improbable. The magic, which should be the draw, is mostly CG. That's a cool thing
about... Like the whole scene with the card, the playing card?
And that was a
it's like a 12-minute scene that all of it is like...
CG card flying around. And that's... I do like magic. I've gone to magic show. The part of it is that suspending of disbelief and seeing stuff that looks real. When you're showing CG and it looks fake because it's obviously CG, you're taking away some of that amazement, and it becomes boring.
And you're basically echoing what I thought about the first movie. I thought the first movie was that too, was like, well, you can literally do anything with CGI, and it looks very CG, so why am I supposed to believe that this is magic? And there's some things that I really liked about this. I thought that Woody's twin, Chase, was a scene stealer. He was so much fun. He had me laughing. His evil twin with the big cheesy smile and the fake tan was hilarious, and he'd show up at just the right moments.
Really white
to
teeth.
add some levity to the situation. I liked Lizzie Kaplan. The Horsemen are rock stars at this point after the events of the first one. And I thought that it was very smart of John Chu, the director, to pair together the best actors. Mark Ruffalo and Morgan Freeman were kind of paired together for the large chunk of this movie, and just given the acting portion of it. And the other guys, Jesse Eisenberg, Ruffalo, Franco, Woody, lesser actors. Let's give them some glitz and pizzazz around them. We'll give them the magic and all that to cover for some of their deficiencies.
I actually like Dave Franco more than in this movie than anything else. Unfortunately, this movie was really bad.
Well, when he's acting next to Jesse Eisenberg, I like most people if they're next to Eisenberg.
I guess so.
I thought that the whole con was kind of underwhelming. You know, and Michael Caine kind of mailing it in this performance. He was just kind of there.
He was kind of thrown in at the end. He wasn't like a big thing. I think they wanted to try to bring back...
But he was a big thing in the first one.
Yeah, he was.
In this one, he felt like, I mean, I'll be there, but I'm just going to sit on that plane and do things.
Yeah.
You know, you've got moles and you've got double agents everywhere throughout this movie, and it's a whole lot of deception, no pun intended, I guess, for magic, but it all felt very underwhelming to me.
Also, you know, these guys are people who have to study their magic. It's real magic, the kind that you would see if you went to a Vegas show, not Harry Potter type magic, yet they do a lot of Harry Potter type magic type stuff. You know, trap doors that you know, there's no reason why there would be a trapdoor open in the middle of an alley, and where did he get that blanket in the first place type things. It's like very improbable things happen over and over and over again. A guy who just happens to have a fake ID card, and he's able to grab a felon out of prison and walk around with him.
It just works that way.
It
just happens. A lot of happenstance going on in this movie of magic. And I mean, I didn't hate the movie. I thought it was okay. Like I say, there's some parts and some people that I really enjoyed. But a lot of it, for a movie that with big effects and all this stuff going down, I shouldn't be yawning 2/3 of the way through it.
No, and really, for me, the only draw to finish this movie was to see more of the charisma and the action and the confidence that these great actors were giving off. But I mean, they were really polishing up a turd.
Yeah, they were. Well, I gave it 2.5 stars.
All right.
You know, middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
I think that's slightly better than I gave the first one. I think I gave the first one 2 stars way back in the day.
I did not review the first one, but I did like the first one a little better. I didn't think it was great. I thought this one was too. It's on the bad side of movies.
2 stars from Michael. All right. Moving on, the last movie we have on the marquee this week is a record-setting movie in China. And it is based on a massive video game franchise and RPG franchise.
I call them Morpegs.
All right.
Massive online role-playing game.
I got some names for you, but I'm going to keep it to myself, and I'm talking about the movie Warcraft. Warcraft, from director Duncan Jones. We bring in a pretty stellar cast for a movie like this. I was actually surprised to see Paula Patton, Ben Foster, Dominic Cooper all in here. And Travis Fimmel plays one of the leads in this movie. And Travis Fimmel, he was the guy, I'm going to call him the Aragorn of this movie. This has a lot of resemblances to a Lord of the Rings franchise.
Sorry to interrupt, but have you seen Vikings?
Yes.
Oh, he's fantastic in that show.
He was not in this.
No.
He was bad. But I mean, if you've played the video games, you know basically what this is about. I'll come in saying this. I'm not a fan of the video games. That's not where I'm coming from. So I have no backstory with this franchise, which might reflect my thoughts of the movie. But I have I know about it. Yeah.
For 12 years.
I don't care how long it's been around. I don't play it. So all I have is, what are you putting on the screen for me? Okay. What's in your movie? I don't care about your game. Show me something. Sell me, make me want to play the game by showing me this movie. The movie is basically orcs versus humans. Orcs and humans try to live together. Orcs and humans can't live together. Orcs and humans start to fight. And we kind of get a bunch of magic. We have sorcerers. We have kings. And we have orcs going through trouble. We have basically, strangely, a Last of the Mohicans storyline going on.
A little bit. They got a little bit of they had a few storylines going on. It's based on 2 books. They pretty much jammed them together.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say, I did not care for this movie, man. There was so much of this movie. A lot of terrible looking effects, a lot of terrible looking magic in this movie. Dominic Cooper, who I normally really, really enjoy as the king, he felt like he was in the wrong movie. Like he was acting in something totally different.
Yeah.
He looked like one of those great actors who doesn't know how to act against a CG screen. And we've seen it in the past. There's this Travis Fimmel I mentioned. He was really bad. It was hard watching him try to act.
He was pretty much channeling the Reverend, I believe. But if he didn't do that, he would be just like everybody else, because every human was a white guy with a beard.
Exactly.
And they all acted the same, except for Travis Fimmel, who set himself aside by doing the Reverend instead.
That's basically it, yeah.
And I got confused. Is he a king? Is that a sorcerer? One of my big complaints about the movie. Oh, but I'm interrupting you.
Oh, no, I have a list of things. I mean, Ben Foster, an actor who I love normally, unfortunately got kind of saddled with a lot of really terrible lines and some terrible looking CG effects. When he's in that glowing pool kind of towards the end, I mean, that's straight garbage effects right there.
Yeah.
There's a clay monster that comes into play that just looked like something out of the original
video game?
Yeah,
you're right.
It looked
not
like
the very first, but it's close.
It looked like it came out of the 1970s Clash of the Titans is what it looked like, because that thing looked rough.
It was. Also, all the orcs, except for one, was completely CG, almost cartoonish looking.
Yes.
And once you add an orc that does not have that CG cartoon, you highlight the fact that these other
Very
things
well.
look so much like a cartoon, and I think that's what they were going for. Same thing with the armor and the shields and everything else looked like they raided a Toys R Us store.
Yeah.
It was all plastic looking and huge, but very faithful to the video game. But the video game is, like I said earlier, 12 years old. They had to do cartoon in order to make it work. It doesn't work when porting it over to a movie. And this is my complaint that I had with Turtles, which I know you would love to chime in, but that was last week.
No, this one though, like you said, the mix of full CG characters and practical effects and real people was jarring.
Yes.
I mean, Paula Patton I thought was great with basically just some green effects on her
Yeah.
and some little vampire teeth put in upside down. I thought she was really good. And unfortunately, when she's acting against these flat-looking CGI cartoons, it was a little rough.
I think if they toned down the cartoonish features of the orcs or added a little CG to the orc that they didn't touch, maybe that would kind of balance it out a little bit, but they did not use practical effects at all. It was CG or nothing at all, and that's another huge mistake when making a movie. It really highlights your CG when you only commit to one type of media to
You box
show
yourself
special
into a
effects.
corner, and it's tough. And with this movie, it's so effects-laden that there was no story, there was no eye to detail to it, really. It's a whole battle about the portal, get our people to the portal. That's like a half of the movie is the battle around the portal, and the battles felt uninspired. There was nothing new to the battles.
Well, what they wanted to do, and I have played the video game, they wanted to try to get the essence of both sides are good and bad, and they judge each other on the bad as a kind of a racist thing, and you wanted to try to get a highlight that both sides are equally balanced, and that they couldn't do that. They wanted to shove so much backstory. Like I said earlier, there was 2 books, Rise of the Horde and The Last Guardian. They were trying to shove into this one movie, and it just felt overpacked. Instead of getting that charisma or that chemistry between characters and learning to love characters, you just didn't care.
Never had time.
This information, along with all this gaudy, terrible-looking CGI in comparison to what we're used to now.
I mean, it felt so much of this movie felt recycled from much better movies. I mean, literally, an eagle comes in to save the day in the middle of a battle. Where have I seen that before over and over again? Where have I seen the eagle, the sorcerer's eagle come in to save the day?
Well, we'll talk about that.
We will talk about it.
Bit.
I mean, when I saw that, I let out an audible groan, like, come on. You have nothing original for me?
Well, this is based on, highly based on, Gary Gygax's Dungeons & Dragons, which, of course, is heavily based on...
And this looks a lot like the Dungeons & Dragons movie to me, which is garbage.
Sorry about that.
I mean,
That's something I so badly want to watch again, and every time I get...
I tried recently. It's just... Like I say, I had no backstory coming into this. I just open-minded, let's see what the movie is, and it just did nothing for me. They didn't explain anything, so how can I connect to the characters if you don't care if I connect to the characters? And it was frustrating.
What'd you end up giving it?
I gave it 1 star.
Holy cow.
I would call this movie this year's Jupiter Ascending.
Wow.
And poor Ben Foster, who I really enjoy. I think Ben Foster is a terrific actor. He was pulling this year's Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending, where he was just overacting his cloak off. It was rough.
See, I have played World of Warcraft. I was beta test it. That's before anybody else could have it. That's how nerdy I am. I played it for a few years. That actually gave me the heads up a little bit on it. I give it a 2.5 because I felt like they were trying. I saw that they were trying really hard and they loved what they were doing. They just couldn't do it for some reason. They didn't have the skills to pull it off.
And you know what? I think I'm the outlier when I look at reviews from people. I mean, like I say, it's breaking records in China. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
A lot of people online love this movie because a lot of people are invested in this.
Yeah.
I'm not, so maybe my score is skewed, but I'm coming at it with just eyes of, what's your movie look like?
Yeah.
Movie was garbage.
Yours is probably the more true review.
I have no attachment to the franchise. But that is Warcraft. And as we've been not so subtly hinting at for a while, it reminded us of maybe a better version of this.
If you haven't seen 2001 Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, it is the best of the 6 Lord of the Ring type movies. I believe so. I don't care if that other one won an award, that dwarf crossing.
I like the second one.
But
I like the Two Towers.
Yeah, that won an award.
No, Return of the King did.
Oh,
Return of the King, Picture of the Year.
Okay.
Yep.
Fellowship of the Rings by Peter Jackson, written originally by J.R.R. Tolkien, who also was inspiration for Dungeons & Dragons, which is inspiration for World of Warcraft. Full circle, or full line. I don't think it ever comes back to Tolkien.
No, I don't think it does. It's just a continuous line.
But we don't have a lot of time. But tell me what your thoughts of this movie.
I think it's one of nature's most perfect movies.
Yeah.
It really is. Those first 3 movies, I think, are perfect movies. I think those 3 movies are among the top 2 or 3 trilogies ever made.
Yeah.
If that was one 9-hour movie, it would be the best movie ever made.
The way this is, how they captured the special effects, they used a nice mixture of CG and
you don't, the CG doesn't jump out at you. You know it's there.
Yeah.
But it's not in your face.
Yeah.
Unlike in the Hobbit movies, which we saw, when they throw the CGI in your face, it starts to look wonky. These are perfect use.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson
love
perfected it.
I love that forced perspective that they use every time they want to put in a Hobbit. It feels so real. The music, the lighting, everything in this. It's pure poetic magic. It really is.
I agree with you.
Definitely, I would suggest renting this out or buying it if you don't have it already.
Go get the extended version, sit down, watch 4 hours of this movie, then watch the 16 hours of special features, and then dig into the rest of the franchise. Even if you've seen it before, watch it again, because I love it.
I've done that.
Oh, yeah, I have.
I have every
I spent a
single one.
weekend just watching special features and just tearing through them. And yeah, it's great. I mean, multiple rewatches. Fellowship of the Ring is where it all starts with that franchise. It's beautiful, and it is 1,000%. It's the perfect version of what Warcraft was trying to do.
And if you would like to even delve deeper, the original books, they have inspired so much American pop culture for an author who was not American. It's unbelievable. To Led Zeppelin, to Dungeons and Dragons, to the World of Warcraft.
That great animated version of Lord of the Rings.
That was terrible.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Terrible.
All right, that is what we have for our movie throwback this week. Let's take a moment and look ahead at the weekend of June 24th. What is coming soon that weekend? We have 3 movies that we'll be discussing that weekend. First up, we have Free State of Jones, starring Matthew McConaughey. Movie about Confederate soldiers, I believe.
Yeah, based on another true story.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully it'll be a little bit more truer.
Civil War actually happened.
It did.
It looks really good to me.
Yeah.
It looks. The more I see of it, the more I'm really excited to see it.
I've been excited about seeing this. This looks pretty good. Has a couple of great scenes in that trailer.
Right. I'm just hoping that there's more than that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really hopeful. The second movie we have is a long sequel in the coming, and that is Independence Day: Resurgence.
Yeah,
New Independence Day, no Will Smith, but we bring back Jeff Goldblum, so I'm in.
Yeah. Well,
all I need is Jeff Goldblum, and I'm in.
You're going to have to see the movie just to find out how they pull that off.
Yeah, I can't wait. And finally, we also have one of the strangest movies I've seen yet for trailers, Swiss Army Man, starring the aforementioned Daniel Radcliffe and Paul Dano.
Yeah.
And go just watch the Swiss Army Man trailer and tell me if that doesn't look crazy. It's original.
Yeah, and that's how they're pimping this one out. They're saying, you got to watch it because you won't ever see anything like this again.
I'm down with that.
It is original.
Hey, give me something new, even if it's bad.
It's not a zombie movie. It's a weird movie.
It is a weird movie. So those are all the movies that'll be coming out the weekend of June 24th.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be with us next week. So
next week, I will be gone again.
Everybody be ready for me to pull ahead in how many movies.
Right. Next week, I will be in the beautiful state of Alaska, so you will have Mr. Jeff Robbins joining, and he will be...
Yeah.
It's going to be a great show.
Just figured everybody should get a forewarning on this because...
yeah, this face is going to look a little different next week.
It was tough to replace you last week. I had to get 2 people to do it.
You're kind of irreplaceable. Before we go, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We do appreciate it. Of course, if you want to find more from us, you can do so on Facebook or on Twitter at Real Reviews TV. We'll get you everywhere you need to be. Stick around, check out ksun.tv if you want to see any other shows or any of our previous episodes. It's all a good time. Next week, we're going to be talking about Finding Dory in Central Intelligence. You will be talking about Finding Dory in Central Intelligence. I'll be somewhere else. But until that time, my name is Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.